This is a post-Edgbaston pre-Lords cricket podcast. We're the 212th men. I'm Rob Taylor. He's George Bottomley. Very much missed opportunities for England in the last Test match, but we're not going to let that dampen our spirits, are we, Bob?
No, but you know what I'm like. I might dampen your spirits with my analysis. I always let you down, don't I, when it
I'll
comes to
come in for you with a few
positivity.
points of where you've got a lot of things wrong which have impacted this game, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
So we did a live show on, was it day two?
Day two.
Day two, Saturday morning. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you for everybody that joined us. We are planning on doing another one of these for this next Test match, which we will talk about at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But for now, let's dissect what we made of that first Test. Before we get into this happened. It was a truly unbelievable spectacle for Test cricket.
Yeah.
I put a tweet out there and I said, look, if the rest of the world wants to wander off into the T20 of bliss, that's absolutely fine. Us and Australia will play each other every summer between our summer periods.
Yeah.
Because that is unbeatable cricket. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if people say, oh, you're one-track minded.
Yeah.
For me, everything was good about that. It was the morning sessions with you, the coming home from work, the dying light sessions. I thought the evening sessions were absolutely top draw on most days.
Yeah, there wasn't a session that went by where it didn't push and pull, was there? Every single minute of the match, the other team were about half an hour away from being in the ascendancy.
Okay.
And I think Stokes' captaincy kept Australia in the game, but also some of Australia's weaknesses kept England in the game. So there was a real kind of yin and a yang to this match.
We'll go into, like you say, we'll break this down more thoroughly. But if you can just describe it in 5 sentences, that whole Test match, do it. I'm going to do it now.
You go first.
Bairstow can't catch.
Yeah.
Australia can't say swear words. Every time England were in the game, Australia clawed them back.
Yeah.
Could have gone either way.
Right.
Your turn.
A missed opportunity as a result of missed opportunities and over gambling in captaincy. I think we over gambled. That would be my summary. But a great advert for Test cricket. But let's not get carried away. This isn't an advert. No. It's an Ashes series. We need to win it.
I mean, it's one of those. Whenever there's a close run contested game in any sport, particularly cricket, I'm one of these people that finds it very difficult to go, yeah, you know what, if we hadn't declared, we'd have won that game. Or, you know what, if Stokes takes that catch, we win that game. Or, do you know what, if Bairstow takes some of the opportunities he had in the first innings, we win that game.
Yeah.
It was so tightly contested. I'll put it out there now. Australia are very smug with themselves, and it's probably one of their greatest Test match wins ever. But they've not found the nullification, is that the word, to Bazball. I've seen a load of shite written this week that, because they've won by such a close margin, this signifies how Bazball is all of a sudden a flawed concept, and Australia have got it nailed. They were on the ropes in that last session.
To be fair, I didn't see it like that. I didn't see them on the ropes. I was listening to it in the car on the way home when...
You didn't think when Khawaja was out, England had the upper hand?
I thought we had the upper hand. However, when it went into that last 45 minutes, when Cummins took on Root, at that point, that over, I thought they had the game tied up because particularly Stokes drops that catch, I turn into my street, I get out of my car. That was a bad decision. For all cricket fans, we know that I should have stayed in the car. We were doing well while I was in the car.
Yeah.
I should never have changed environment.
That is a schoolboy error, changing positions.
But I did. I got out of the car, schoolboy error. I put the TV on.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'm watching our pacemen run in, I thought we didn't look, there wasn't like a chance after that Stokes catch where you thought, we've got him.
The lack of Moeen Ali's finger injury was clearly causing some concern, wasn't it? He couldn't bowl anymore, so we were already a bowler down.
Yeah,
we have the pitch.
Stokes
bowled as long as he could, I think, and then there had to be a time where we freshened it up, and I think he was eyeing up the new ball for the two opening pair.
Yeah,
it was all because the pitch was offering so little for the bowlers. Even like when the new ball came, it seemed to actually make things a lot easier for Australia. We were short of tactics in which to obviously, to get people out. If England had Mark Wood in that situation, is there an argument to say that game could have been done and dusted?
Yeah, I think that this is the if these are the pitches, and I'm not saying this is what Ben Stokes requested, because before the Ashes he said he wanted fast and flat wickets. That wasn't a fast wicket; it was a really slow wicket. But if the great contradiction of the Bazball approach is that our batsmen will succeed on pitches like that, and our bowling attack that we have fit most regularly will really struggle. Anderson really struggled. Robinson did struggle at times.
Yeah.
Broad was our absolute talisman. He dragged us through that match.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy the concept that we've got Australia a bad day and still come short. I think we had them really, really near the caution period of that game, for sure. I mean, people keep saying to me, well, Smith and Labuschagne didn't score runs. There's no guarantee Steve Smith is going to emulate any kind of form he did in the last Ashes in England. There's enough signs for me there that England have got tools to work him out this year. Same with Labuschagne. Kawaj has done really well this Test match, but again, I thought England fielded poorly in the first innings.
I think in games that...
So what I'm saying, sort of to build on that point, people saying Australia weren't the best. I think England can play better than that.
I do. But equally, I think against Australia, in games where Smith and Labuschagne don't score runs, you have to win.
There's times in that as well where, do you not feel, you kept saying to me when you were texting me, feels like we left runs out here.
Yeah.
Giving our wickets away too early. There was times where England really had the foot on the accelerator.
Yeah.
And I could probably count at least 4 or 5 occasions when we were batting, where England can start to take the game away from Australia. We probably sacrificed one ourselves with the declaration, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But there was other times there, I'm thinking Root second innings, he carries on for another half an hour and you can bat Australia out the game.
A couple of things though. One thing that I really love about Bazball is I think that it gets the England team to start playing in that kind of Australian mantra of being aggressive, taking the game to the opposition.
Yeah.
However, the Australian mantra, rightly so, says that when you're ahead, you keep going, you don't let the team back into it. And we've all been there when you're bowling in cricket, you feel you're on the field inside, the other team is scoring runs, it's frustrating.
Crowd's up.
Yeah. Not that we played in front of a crowd, but
Well, a few people rocked up, didn't see me bowl.
But taking it into the Test arena, the crowd's up and all that. That declaration, you could feel it. Australia were buzzing. Do you know? Root was flying. Robinson was a good ally to him.
Yeah.
It felt like we could push on. I kept on saying to you all that day, minimum 450. We need 450 on here.
KP was big on that one. He was always people say, Mark Taylor said it as well. 400 is mentally the figure that's in the head. And what did we get? 393. Yeah.
And it might just be cricket mentality, numbers, stats, all this kind of stuff saying it's in their head. But cricketers are playing this game.
It's a psychological game.
It's a psychological game. And cricketers, if we're sat at home as fans saying 400 is psychological blow, the commentators who are ex-cricketers are saying 400 is a psychological blow.
Yeah.
It would have been a psychological blow to Australia. And I just felt like we just constantly left runs out on the field. Yeah. And again, Root, I just don't think he needs to Bazball it as much as he is doing. I think he can do what he did for the ODI side for all those years that took us to success in 2019. Yeah. Let the players bat around.
Can I twist your arm and try and pick some positives from this? Because you're very downbeat as usual on this. Where are we looking for our positives? Because I think, obviously, Root scoring 100 in the first Test match of the series is really important. Bairstow looked good, considering he'd been out of the game for some time.
Bairstow showed his strengths and his weaknesses in this match in equal measure, didn't he?
I saw something from Harry Brook.
Yeah,
I did. I think he had a freak wicket, but we could argue that is that a little bit of sloppiness?
At the time, I thought it was dozy. Overall, it's not really.
It's severe and unlucky. But then he showed promise in the second innings. I think there's a big score in Harry Brook in this series. Do you?
Yeah.
Bowling wise, Broad, very much pumped up for it.
Broad's the big plus. Feels like he's a must pick at the moment.
Yeah.
When you look at the other bowlers, Anderson needs to come good at Lords because he struggled in that match, didn't he?
He's made comments about the pitches, Jimmy Anderson, saying if this is what they're going to be like, I might as well retire now.
So on that last evening,
yeah,
when Stokes didn't turn to him, which I felt like, come on, just get him on.
Bit of a change of the guard, perhaps.
Just not a changing of the guard as such. But I just thought Anderson looked stone-faced, and it was as if Stokes had lost faith in him in that match. And I thought if he has one bad match at Lords again, it could be curtains for this Ashes series, and then you'd be wondering about his career. Now, I'm not writing Anderson off, but how many good matches he had at Lords over the years.
The best thing we can do is write these two off because that's the way they tend to perform.
Yeah.
Robinson, we'll come on to the war of words. That's one of the subjects that we're going to talk about here. But I think Ollie Robinson will be feeling like he could do a lot more. Again, a pitch that didn't suit him. Couple of wickets, a couple of good tail end sort of contributions there, but there's more to come, I think, in this series from him.
Robinson is one of those classic bowlers that you get every now and then in cricket. Mohamed Abbas would be another. Mohamed Asif, another. Where they don't always look like they're ripping up trees, that they're a great bowler. But he comes out of the game again.
Australia are obsessed with his pace, aren't
they? He's taking his wickets at 20.
Yeah.
Over his Test career, he's taken 71 wickets at 21.
Yeah.
He's a very good bowler.
Doesn't he have a lower average than Pat Cummins?
Yeah. He doesn't look amazing, but his stats are amazing. And he's played some tough teams in some tough places.
We're going to come back on to Ollie Robinson a bit later on, but Moeen Ali, overall, I thought it was a bit of a disappointing game for Moeen Ali. Obviously, he was restricting massively by his finger.
Yeah.
Batting, a few flurries in the first innings, but like I said to you, there seems to be an air of I know that Bazball has kind of got everyone to care little and it doesn't matter if you fail in this kind of thing, but there does seem to be a little bit of a kind of a shoulder shrug with Moeen Ali's performance to me. A little bit of well, you asked me to play kind of thing. So,
well, in some ways, though, I think that analysing his performance, you have to equally say, well, what did we expect?
Yeah.
We've got him. So it's hard. I think that ultimately, when you look across this game, England's gambles didn't pay off. Moeen hadn't bowled for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a blister on his finger after the first innings.
Yeah.
He can't really bowl. He's ineffectual.
Yeah.
He didn't really get many runs.
Yeah.
It didn't work. The lack of preparation when we went on the golf course, it didn't really work.
You talking about me?
No, I mean, this team, while Australia were playing in the World Test Championship final, they were playing golf in Scotland, weren't they? Could they have played a couple of games of County Championship, or at least a game of County Championship?
Yeah.
That gamble didn't pay off. The declaration didn't pay off.
Yeah.
The final route over where Cummins takes him on didn't pay off.
Keeping the old ball, but the new ball didn't pay off.
No, but it was just they broke the back of it, the chase, didn't they, in that over?
Yeah. There was a real intense bit of pressure until then, wasn't there?
This team seems to be built around two leaders who are very type A personalities, gamblers. There will be times where they gamble and it doesn't pay off, and this was just one of those matches. Go on.
I'm going to have to bring this to you, and I was a bit harsh saying he can't catch, but we've had long debates throughout the spring into the summer about who should take the gloves. You were very adamant it should be Bairstow. I was very strong about Folks.
I think
we
said
really
that it will be Bairstow.
Well, no, but we'll come back to that. But there was a real number of key opportunities missed in the first innings when Australia batted.
Yeah.
There was an obvious stumping of Alex Carey, I think. There was a number of drop catches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Green, you know what I mean. To be fair to Johnny, and I was harsh at the start there. I know he's a very capable keeper in his own right. In the Ashes, it seems to be like a level above that you need in terms of that. I thought Carey keeps really well.
Yeah.
He's obviously not played a lot of cricket. He's come back from a really tough injury, so I don't think his fitness is how he'd like it to be. If that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
Jim Maxwell's been a bit, off the cuff and said he's overweight and he's no keeper. Little bit unfair, to be honest, but I think in this scenario, if you play, I mean this in the nicest possible way. If we're playing West Indies at home, and Bairstow drops a few, we can probably get away with it because we know that other opportunities will probably come. Australia don't give away as that many opportunities, so when they come, you have to take them.
Yeah.
Am I giving you a fair assessment there? Because it could be a lot harsher on you if I wanted to be.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that when you heard Rob Key talk when he was in the commentary box, and I think this is filtered throughout this establishment, this regime.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about wanting high ceiling players, always talking about how high is the ceiling for that player.
Yeah.
And Bairstow has a higher ceiling than Ben Folks in his all-round ability to be world-class.
Yeah.
Folks is a world-class gloveman, but in the modern game, that isn't as valued as much as a world-class batsman.
Yeah.
And they've gone for that high ceiling batsman at number 7. It will mean that we'll need to create more opportunities than Australia to take 20 wickets.
Yeah.
Because they will probably catch more than we will.
Mm-hmm.
Take more of those chances than we will.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I think that's why we need to be more ruthless when we made a declaration like we did. Well, actually, we picked Johnny to score runs. We probably need 450 because Johnny might drop a couple. And that's kind of how we've balanced our side.
That's a fair point.
that is something
one
to
way or
consider.
another. You know, first Test match, his fitness will improve
Yeah.
over the course of this month. His match fitness will improve naturally. So hopefully, you know, he can retain that. I think they've made the call on that. You know,
Yeah.
people, even I think I tweeted from my own account, give Ollie Pope the gloves in a flurry of frustration.
Yeah.
But they're clearly going to stick with this. You know, they've
Yeah.
made the call on it. You know, it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's the same with the Crawley thing. You can moan all you like that the sticker is Zach Crawley for
Yeah.
5 Test matches, probably, aren't they?
Yeah.
By the way, a good start for Zach Crawley.
It was, yeah. He batted well on pitches that he will bat well on. He did his job. He did what is asked. You know, that first ball went for 4. That's how they want him to play.
Momentum. Yeah.
So that's what he needs to do.
You can easily, we've seen this over the years from Australia, they can easily get you suffocating early on, can't we? And before you know it, you've got the Joe Root show.
Yeah.
I know we leaned on him in the first innings, but there was some, you know, reasonable contributions.
Your best batsman's probably going to score you most runs. That's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just about not overly relying on Root, which I think we're starting to get away from. I suppose the last thing I'd say on the Edgbaston test is it was a really nice, as a cricket lover, taking it away from that tribalism of the Ashes.
Yeah.
There was a really nice redemption arc when you think of the Headingley match in 2019
my God.
to the 2023 game. This was a tight game. Australia don't win many tight games.
Oh, such a shame.
Stokes drops a catch
Yeah.
in the way that Lyon fumbled that chance.
I think they're not very comparable, though.
No, they're not. But Lyon's there to hit the winning runs. Well, not did he hit the winning runs?
Lyon's been very gracious, actually, after this game.
Yeah. Lyon's there to see it through to the end.
Yeah.
And Cummins, was Cummins the one who bowled and he had that review? I think he was. That dodgy review as well. He made mistakes near the end of that match.
Yeah.
The winning runs were scored off him by Stokes at the end of that 2019. They were both there to see it over the line. So I suppose it was a redemption arc.
Absolutely
well
delighted
done, Australia.
About that,
brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
And you know what's brilliant about it as well? We go 1-0 down in the series.
Yeah.
And
we've
won one game at Lords against Australia in the last 85 years.
Well, you said this to me. We can't get too hung up on records because before a couple of years ago, England's fortress was Edgbaston. I can't remember the last time we fucking won a game there. So, I'm in the optimistic camp. I know everyone's a bit doom and gloom. Like Australia win the first test. Could have easily gone England's way. It didn't. You move on. It was a great test match. That's as humble as I'm going to get on that one.
Yeah.
We move to the home of cricket, Lords, which is starting tomorrow. The team has been named. The only change is Moeen Ali's out and Josh Tong has entered the fray.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I think it's a tough one, this, because it feels like a Silverwood choice. You know, in those dark Silverwood years, we used to pick full seamers a lot, get Root being the spinner, and it feels like a negative choice. However, I think that this current mob aren't that way inclined, and it isn't safety for safety's sake. And it's actually that they have their hands tied a little bit by who's fit.
Right.
Mark Wood's injured.
Elbow.
Moeen Ali's injured.
Finger.
Archer's not there. Stone's not there. So
elbow.
They're trying to get.
I'm not sure what Stone's got.
I don't know. I think it's usually a stress fracture
Unsettled.
of him. Yeah, unsettled. And the one thing that I've always liked about Stokes' approach is he always says that he wants his test sides to have a spinner.
Okay.
Now, I think that this is an absolute horses for courses. Lords isn't great for spin. My spinner that I've brought in's injured. I don't want to play an 18-year-old. I'm just going to have to go with it and go with a bit of pace.
Yeah. I think he does offer something a little bit different than Robinson, Anderson and Broad.
Yeah.
He's probably in line. I was clocking his speeds against Ireland. He was getting towards 87, pushing 90.
90 once.
Right. He got the 90 figure. So, something a little bit different. They seem to like the tactic of the bumper, don't they?
Yeah.
They'll probably rely on Josh Tong to do that.
Yeah.
Lords is notoriously a spinner's graveyard, as I've been told. And with that, I think they probably think that someone like Joe Root can probably just get by. I was saying this to you over the mackerel that you made, and thank you very much for that mackerel. It's one of those, when you go to a place like Lords, which is notoriously not great for spinners, you kind of feel like you need a spinner that isn't as probably artillery as Moeen Ali or Will Jacks. You need a Nathan Lyon. You need a Jack Leach, someone who is quite conventional, someone who can tie an end down. It's not going to do wonders for them, but someone who won't go for many. And right now, England don't have that option.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I think we do have one option.
Which is?
Liam Dawson.
Okay.
But this regime do not pick that type of cricketer.
No.
Keaton Jennings was doing brilliantly.
Yeah.
He's the top scorer. He'll probably never
If
get
it's
picked.
one thing they can't stand, it's county form.
Yeah, he'll never
Yeah.
get picked for England, probably.
Yeah.
Ben Fawkes, wonderful wicket keeper.
Absolute
good county batsman.
Dream of a cricketer's idea of a keeper.
But they're not that bothered about leaving him out.
Yeah.
Liam Dawson has just scored 140 for Hampshire, batting 6, and taken 12 for nothing.
Owen Morgan liked him, the ODI team, though, didn't he?
Yeah. And left arm is Steve Smith averages least against left arm spin. Now, he probably averages 45 against it. But it felt like all roads pointed towards giving. He scored that. He's taken those wickets, scored those runs since the decision's been made to bring Rehan into the squad. However, I just do think sometimes pick the sensible option, pick the straightforward. Like in football, and I ain't no footballer, but the simple pass, play the simple pass. I think that this management sometimes could make the easy choice. Just bring Liam Dawson in, really experienced. What do you think?
It's one of those. I think I can see the theory behind the selection, an extra pace option. I can also see the fact that the pitch looks very green. So I think we're expecting
it's a day out.
They
but
can
still cut it.
I don't think the weather's as warm as it was for the last Test match. So, I think there's enough trust in the 1,000 wickets of James Anderson and Stuart Broad that they'll come good this Test match.
Yeah.
Broad's already come good, but like you said, wanted a little bit more from Anderson. And I think they've looked at it and gone from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're still coming in at 7. There should be, in theory, you've always said this before, your batsmen should score runs. We should have...
Yeah.
It starts to get a bit of a lengthy tail once you get to 8, but really, we should have enough covered by 7, shouldn't we?
You shouldn't pick your bowlers on how well they can bat. I do believe in that. There is a lot of symmetry between Josh Tong and Rehan Ahmed. Both are really early in their careers. Both haven't played much first-class cricket.
Both have had good debuts.
Both have had a 5-for on debut. Is Josh Tong as much of a risk as Rehan Ahmed, really?
It's a good question. It really is. I suppose there's probably a bit more age in Josh Tong, isn't there? A bit more county stock, I guess. So it's probably marginally safer. I also feel that
conditions.
A new paceman probably comes with less sort of suspect than a new spinner, doesn't it? So you're likely to probably target a new spinner.
Yeah.
Because spinning is obviously a lot slower. It's about finding your lengths. Nervy. For coming into an Ashes Test match 1-0 down, not played a Test match since Pakistan, not played a Test match in England, albeit with a weaker opposition in Ireland. Josh Tong's coming off of the crest of a wave. He performed at this ground.
Yeah.
He's had Steve Smith already this year.
Yeah.
So they're probably looking at rubs of the green like that to favour this kind of selection.
I think the one thing that really gives him the advantage is he's obviously a lot younger than the rest of the attack. He looks like a fit lad, who can bowl the overs. Maybe we just need somebody, a bit like Matty Potts did last year, who just gets through the overs and, lets Anderson have a rest, lets Broad have a rest, lets Robinson have a rest, and almost does a bit of a spinner's job of just kind of bowling lots of overs.
I'm so excited for it to be back on tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think I love the Lord's occasion. Bringing the chairs out.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
I don't know what podcast I was listening to the other day, but they said it right. The only thing about Lords, I think it was Michael Vaughan who said it, is it doesn't have the atmosphere of the other grounds. And whether Bazball needs that. But
does it not have its own unique atmosphere?
Yeah, but whether...
We went last year to the Bazball's first induction.
Yeah. It's not as footballer of an atmosphere. It's not the Edgbaston atmosphere.
I wonder whether sometimes, that can sometimes spur Australia even on a level. A little bit of the going against the crowd kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, do we need to throw a little bit of not a spanner in the works, but a bit of a curveball go to a quintessential English condition, green seam. We've been banging on about flat pitches and scoring loads of runs and early declarations. Do we just throw a complete curveball at a green seamer now? That is something Bazball could do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they'll bat differently, but it could just mean that their approach to wickets has changed. And now we've got 4 seamers. A bit like what India do. Where they tempt you with a bit of a green seam, and then by the time you get there, you've got Ashwin, Axar Patel and Jadeja coming at you.
And in some ways, that's what Duckett has said about County Championship, is he said that he's really aggressive in County Championship because you're always going to lose a wicket at any point because of the pitches that you play on.
Yeah.
So you've got to score your runs quickly before one gets you. And there would be
before the ball with your name on it comes.
There'd be a real styles make fights kind of situation there because Steve Smith has done it in England when it's seaming around and he just grinds it out and somehow makes 100. Labuschagne, very similar. Versus that kind of Travis Head, duck it, get your runs before it gets you. Let's score them quickly. It'd be really interesting if it's green seamer tomorrow, how the two teams go.
Do you anticipate any changes for Australia?
Well, they'll be looking at Stark coming in probably for Boland.
Boland's got me that kind of thing, that David Milan kind of things, where it's like, can you hurry up and fail so we can drop you? It's been so consistent. It now poses, because he wasn't by any means bad in the first Test match, but I don't think he had the impact that people thought it was going to make. He was deemed to be this grand grim reaper of baseball, that would underpin England.
McGrath,
We didn't quite see it again. Similar to a lot of the England bowlers, the conditions probably didn't favour to his skills. So I think you could see Stark coming for Boland. But apart from that, I anticipate they'll keep much of a winning side.
The only other player that I think England could have picked, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, is Chris Woakes. Got an incredible record at Lords. Could have batted at 8. Would you have been tempted to bring him in for Anderson, Robinson?
Well, you'd have that extra layer of batting when he come in at 8. I know he's got
averages 15 with the ball at Lords.
Had a century at Lords as well, if I remember rightly. The thing is with Woakes, the pace element is very samey, isn't it, compared to the other three bowlers that we've got.
You'd have to drop him for.
And I think if they had an Archer or something in the team, I think he'd slot in perfectly next. But the lack of pace, I think, concerns England. I think that they'll learn from those dying embers of that last day, where they would have probably killed for someone with a bit of express pace to change up what was happening, less reliant on Stokes to bail us out. It's just a lot of things will fall into place with selection, isn't it? And depending on the availability of others, can impact someone else's selection. And I think that's what we've seen with Chris Woakes in this Test match.
Yeah, I'm really worried about this Test match.
No, you've got to embrace the challenge.
I know, but all the commentators.
I think at the same time, I don't think England have properly got out of gear yet.
I know, and that's what I'm worried about. Though is all the commentators have been talking about 2005, hyping this up as a 2005 series. And there's a little bit of me that feels like whether it's going to be a 2019 series.
It's becoming one of those boring cliches where every time there's a good game in English cricket, it's like 05, it's 05, it's 05. Can we get on to some of the war of words? Because you mentioned commentators there. I have been absolutely bored stiff of Australia's greatest Test win of all time this week, yet everyone seems to be absolutely obsessed with Ollie Robinson.
Yeah,
Michael Clarke, Matthew Hayden, Ricky Ponting, Darrell Lehman, Jim Maxwell.
Hayden.
I said Hayden. Absolutely. For something that for a player they don't seem to rate very much, he's been completely in the heads, all for a few swear words.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did Ollie Robinson say? If you can't handle this, what can you handle? How did you feel about the Ollie Robinson thing? Because this was after we had departed from our live show.
Yeah. I don't think it was that much. I think it's the way that Robinson plays. It's just Robinson. He's one of those players. Anderson used to be a bit like that.
Yeah.
A bit miserable. Gives it to the opposition. I don't think Australia are too bothered. They seem like quite a mellow side these days.
The team aren't bothered at all, are they?
No.
I think even Alex Carey said it. I didn't really hear anything, to be honest.
Yeah. He mentioned Ponting, didn't he, in a press conference? That's had a big uproar around it.
Did Ponting notoriously tell Harmson to fuck off when he was bleeding? When he bounced him and Harmson like, "You all right, pal?"
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's all storm in a teacup stuff. The one thing I would say about it, now Robinson's got a really good Test record. We spoke about that before. The one thing I would say about it is it looks a lot better when you're winning. And it's just whether England are getting a little bit distracted. I know Zach Crawley's been saying that on the radio that we're going to win by 150 runs.
Yeah.
Well, we've not even had the toss yet.
It's not so much that. I think it's more the fact that the reaction amongst these ex-Australian players and pundits has been more about Ollie Robinson as a bowler. Sort of saying, well, he's saying this, but he's not very good. When you and I know that I think, I've tipped Ollie Robinson to be England's leading wicket taker in this Ashes series.
Yeah.
There is a dangerous bowler in there in England.
Yeah.
And I think Australia would be wise not to write him off so soon.
Yeah, I think the Australian team are playing it sensible not to go after Robinson because
knowing that he could potentially.
He feels like one of those players like Bairstow, like Broad, like Anderson, who you don't want to wind up too much because it could come back to bite you. The Australian media, particularly the ex-players, they just can't help it, can they? Yeah. You know, we've had all this about the Langer stuff. They just make money off kind of kicking off, don't they?
Yeah, really? They just never seem happy, do they?
Yeah.
They don't like the team. They don't like the opposition.
They don't like the manager.
Yeah.
I like the captain.
Yeah. Do you reckon they like us?
I doubt that.
Yeah. So that's been fun. What else has been said? I've made a couple of references. I mean, I think, like you said, the players have been very quiet. They've acknowledged it's a brilliant win. Pat Cummins went watching Bruce Springsteen, I think, shortly afterwards. Yeah. They know there's a lot more cricket to be played.
Yeah, I think there's a real risk that I think England are trying to wind Australia up.
Yeah.
I think they need to realise now that this Australian side don't seem that bothered by it.
Yeah.
So it's not having the effect. Do you know if it was the old Warner, Smith,
the pundits,
pre-sandpaper, the pundits, the Michael Clarke era, the Mitchell Johnson era.
Yeah.
I think that it would be a more effective strategy then.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Cummins era are that bothered. They're not going to take the bait.
They're a mellowed team, aren't they? Even Warner's mellowed now.
I think the one thing that I'm really worried about this Australian side is if they win this series, they will go down as one of the great Australian sides, and they know they've got a chance. And if they just keep their focus on that, let England try and play all these mind games.
Yeah.
I think the quality could come out on top, and
they have won the first arse pincher, haven't they?
Yeah.
So next time there's an arse pincher who's got the edge on that.
They will be buoyed from it.
Interesting. Should we have a little look towards the women's game? Because I've been following this in and out.
Yeah.
Can you answer me, why is there only one test match in the Ashes series for the women?
So this is probably a look towards the future of the men's game, really, isn't it? So this is a multi-format.
Don't say this.
Yeah, it's a multi-format.
I can't even have a break from T20 in Ashes fever.
I know. It's I'm kicking that over. It's a multi-format series. So there's one test at the start, which is worth 4 points.
Yeah.
And then white ball games that come after that are worth, I think, 2 points each.
Yeah.
I don't know all the kind of ins
Is
and
this a
outs.
cost thing? Why they can't put on 3 tests
I
or
think
5
probably
tests?
in some ways it is a costing. Test matches are obviously very costly, expensive to put on.
Yeah. Decent crowd though.
Yeah, decent crowd.
You get it at the right venue as well. Get it at Taunton or a Trent Bridge.
So it was Trent Bridge, this one.
Yeah.
Very a lot of symmetries to the men's game that just went. Flat pitch. Lots of runs.
Prominent name in Healy as captain.
Yeah,
you know, it has the traditional Aussie tag to it, doesn't it? The baggy greens prevalent.
Tammy Beaumont put on a brilliant display. Got
Double
200.
ton, yep.
I think that's the highest score for England.
Yeah,
definitely in the Ashes. I think it's the highest score for England.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Calls for Sophie Eccleston to actually play for England men.
Well, yeah, she got 10 for 180. Again, shows the way that the direction of all cricket this summer. The pitches are dry. You need to score your runs, and spin's really important.
Yeah.
And again, symmetries to the men's game. They've missed opportunities. They were 55 for none on the last day, chasing down a total of 280, I think it was, and they just let it slip and kind of missed their opportunities. And it felt very similar to the men's game overall. That means that they go 4-0 down, 4 points down in the series, with meaning that they have to win, I think, 4 out of the next 6 to win the Ashes or go level. So it's very tough given the weighting of the 4 points given to a test match. So yeah, both England sides have given themselves a lot to do over the Ashes. Mm-hmm. And obviously that Australian women's side is prolific. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If we think that the Australian men's side is a good side, Jesus.
Yeah.
That women's side is something else.
So a lot of work to do for the women, for sure.
It is.
That concludes this week's show. A bit of a post-edge, pre-Lords. So we're looking forward to the cricket starting tomorrow. We'll throw this out on our channels so you can get a little bit of pre-cricket coverage before tuning into TMS or Sky or wherever you sort of get your kicks from the cricket. We're going to do a live session Sunday. So that's going to be day 5.
Yep.
Hopefully the cricket is still on. There's a bit of rain about, so we're optimistic that there'll be some cricket to be played around then. We'll post this out on our socials. Please join us. We really enjoyed the last one. We want to keep doing these things for every test match this year, even Old Trafford when we go there. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's help England can turn things around, and we'll catch you soon.
See you on Sunday.